Good morning. Thursday, March 7th. Interesting day ahead. We are going to open this morning with our typical pledge to our flag, and then we will pause for a moment of silence. Please keep those in our armed forces and those in public safety in your thoughts, and anyone else as we hopefully are at spring.
Be nice.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I did. Oh. Thanks. I said it and I forgot. Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner Rothstein. Keep me straight.
I'm here for you. It's a 24/7 job.
I wasn't talking to you, Commissioner Fred.
Just being helpful.
Yeah, well, okay. So, Priority Carol. What do we have, gentlemen?
Well, I can start off. I went down to the National Association of Counties on Saturday in D.C., and I have to say that the traffic and parking was everything I thought it would be. But I did talk to commissioners and county supervisors and all from around the country. And I found, for some reason, they asked me the size of the county, and many people brought up the bond. What's your bond rating? Mm-hmm. So when I tell them we're AAA, they're, whoa, because some of them, and they're asking me how we do it and what do we do and so forth. I didn't mention it was myself and Commissioner Wentz who went up there and got the AAA, but don't worry about it. Okay.
I was hoping you didn't.
I mentioned you. And Jack was here. I didn't mention you, Jack, sorry. But I did mention that. And actually, the AAA, when I was told, was very impressive. But when you're there and you're talking to all these people from the other counties around the country, you find out that no one else I talked to, by the way, had the AAA bond ratings all the way across. No other county, which was very impressive there. But I also heard that I went to a session, and they were talking about sea level rise. And there's a place in Florida off the Keys that has been monitoring sea level rise since the 1880s or something like that. In the first 100 years or so that they're monitoring sea level rise, it went up to 1/100th of an inch every year or so barely noticeable. 10 years after that, it was going up to 1/10 of an inch every year. The last 2 years has gone up 1/2 inch every year. If that trend continues, and they point out that in 2 years you can't look at a trend, if that trend continues, within 4 years it'll go up as much as has gone up in the last 150 years. So that's a tremendous increase in that. So that's one of the whole thing was about counties being prepared for disasters and mostly from climate change. So it's very interesting. But that's kind of stuck with me. You talk about 2/100ths of an inch up to 1/2 an inch. And that's a big, tremendous increase.
That's cool. Well, I applaud you for going down there. Dick, you and Dennis and I, in the last board, we attempted to try to get as much outreach and increase our outreach as we could. And we've come a long way in repairing some of those bridges that perhaps may have been burned a tad. But to get that exposure down there from Carol,
Right.
kudos, and I'm glad you went down there. So,
Thank you.
Thank you.
What'd you pay for parking? All right, thanks very
I
much.
didn't want to go into that. Well, the county paid for it, but still, I was like, oh, are you kidding me?
I know it's a,
And since you mentioned parking, it's at the Hilton. I drive into the Hilton, you go in there, and there's a circle that goes around.
By the way,
But
did you
there's-
take your car?
No, I did not.
Okay,
The
all right.
county car.
Okay.
But I drive in there, and there's no sign that says park here or anything else, and there's nowhere to park. So my second lap around the circle, I see somebody from the hotel. I said, where do you park? Oh, you got to go out in the street, make 3 rights and a left to turn. You think there could be a sign? You think people might want to know? But I found
the
it. but
signs
it's
out
like-
because you were coming.
Look, kids,
It's unbelievable. But I'll let it go at that. Go ahead.
Here's your sign.
Okay,
well,
so
since you brought up parking, no, I'm sorry.
a few things that I'd like to share. This past Saturday was a very busy, energetic, enthusiastic day. 3 of us with History Day at Winter's Mill, just the creativity of the kids and the work that they do, the the engagement with the community and the family, the engagement with those that had displays, very impressed. Went over to the book fair at the community college. Again, just a lot of folks there, a lot of activities. Community colleges did a great job, as always, with their book fair. And then in the evening, I did not know that Eldersburg is the home to the B&O Historical Society. And they had the Historical Society Founders Day dinner that I was invited to. And it's actually located, excuse me, in Eldersburg off of Bartholow Road near Liberty High School. So the B&O Historical Society dinner was just a fun kind of little gem. And the building that used to be the Senior Center in South Carroll has transformed into this Historical Society building. They've done a great job. They're so appreciative of the county and the work that the county did in getting that building into their hands. So,
I went to the grand opening of that about 3 years ago.
yes, you did, and you were a highlight to them as well. And
My grandfather,
I'm just saying.
my great-grandfather
Just
was a detective on the B&O Railroad. That's,
Well, that makes sense.
yeah.
I would just note that they did pay for the building.
They did.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, yes, they did. And but they really appreciate the county's efforts in getting it sold to them appropriately. And then this last thing, again, a shout out to the community. I had an initial town hall the other day, a couple of them on Tuesday morning and evening. A great showing down there in Eldersburg and Sykesville, and a lot of discussion to follow up on. So just full week, and we're halfway done.
And last Thursday, Commissioner Rothstein and I attended the Chamber of Commerce Veterans Independent Project program at the VFW. Nice event. Well attended.
Yep.
So.
Well, I attended the History Day for the students as well, Commissioner Rothstein and Commissioner Wance. What a tremendous honor, since I'm a history nerd. It was nice to see all these students in Carroll County with the passion I have. I'd like to thank the young lady from Tawnytown who educated me on the Blue Ridge Rubber Company that burned down during World War II. Some local history that I did not know, and I was thoroughly impressed with that young lady's knowledge. Also attended Saturday night the Union Bridge Volunteer Fire Department banquet hosted by Mayor Perry Jones, thanking all the volunteers of the community for their service. I'm very fortunate to have such a wonderful community in my district. Thank you.
Very good. District 1, a lot of smart people in District 1.
Yes,
Commissioner
obvious.
Boucher. So I want to echo my two colleagues. As a matter of fact, the young lady that got the Commissioner's Award that day is that young lady who...
Fantastic.
So we're going to bring her in here and do a formal presentation with her as soon as we can work that out.
She was so poised and smart. I'm impressed. There's hope for society.
Yep. District 1. Okay. What, did I say that already?
Keep going.
Okay. Just a shout out to our folks in Public Works again. We went through another storm. It was a close call here on, was it Friday? Thursday? Friday, I think. I don't know. Saturday,
weekend,
Sunday, Monday.
yeah.
It was Monday. What's today? I don't know. I was in Annapolis yesterday, so don't have much brain left. But whatever day it was, we appreciate the fact that they cleaned everything up again. They did it. They started at the county roads started at 2 a.m. Our facilities guys were in at 4 a.m. And as a result of all their efforts, we were able to open government on time. And again, tremendous job by our folks in Public Works, and we thank them very much. All right. First on our agenda, it's going to be a little different today, so we're going to have one agenda item, and then we're going to close for some personnel discussion. But out of the gate this morning is briefing, discussion, and decision on a recharge area for the Mount Airy Business Park. And we have our Director of Economic Development, Mr. Jack Lyburn. And he is joined by our Director of Land Management
And a resource manager.
and that, Tom Devilbiss. Good morning, gentlemen.
Wow.
I've had the Annapolis syndrome also.
Yeah, I know.
So I can empathize.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's from your district, by
Not,
the way.
well. Thanks, Eric. Okay, Jack, good morning.
If I could, on a sidebar, Commissioner, about 5 years ago, the commissioners came up with surplus properties to put them back on the tax roll. It was a wise decision, and that was one of the buildings that our department sold with the commissioner's approval. So we took, we put them all on the tax roll, and that's back on the tax roll with another 22 other properties. So that was a decision made.
Yeah.
So
No, I appreciate it.
just to let you know,
Win-win situation, so.
it was a win-win.
Good stuff.
They're talking about a win-win situation. You transferred years ago the 254 acres to the IDA. We call it the Mount Airy Business Park. We also call it the Harrison Leinster property. The IDA has been working on it for the last 4 years with the town to annex it in, and to we're going to develop 129 acres right there on Route 97. It's going to be a campus zone. Our next step, though, before the annexation, and Isaac Minash, our attorney, is ready for annexation, but the next step was the recharge. We ended up, the town wanted a hotel there, which gave us more, we need more water, and the project is about 800,000 square feet. So the problem was we needed more recharge. We went to Tom, and with his magic, he came up with this this site here, and we're asking for your approval, and Tom will go through the site.
Yes, Commissioners, so what we're dealing with here is there's two issues when you develop water supply, public water supply. You have to physically be able to remove the water out of the ground. So you put a well in the ground and you test it and you say, can that well actually produce it? Then there's this other little thing that's in the brainchild of the state of Maryland, which says that you have to be able to supply the water that flows to that. You actually have to own or control the amount of water that you want to take out of there, all right? So and that own and control means you either have to outright own the property, or you have to have easements or recharge, what they call recharge credits, that equal the amount of water you want to take out that you have in that immediate vicinity or in that watershed. So the issue that we're dealing with here is on the Harrison Lashir property, there are actually 4 wells, 2 of which are production capable. They are able to produce more water than the property has recharge for, and actually more water than the property plus what little bit of town of Mount Airy is in that watershed. So in order to produce the water that's needed for this development, they need extra recharge credits. The wells are fully capable of doing it. That's not the question. The question is there available recharge or areas that will keep water going in the ground in the watershed? So what we were tasked is finding that extra recharge credit that's needed to appropriate those wells. And the state does appropriate water for any use that you need. So what we did is we looked at the Gillis Falls watershed, because there just happens to be a lot of land that the county owns in the watershed there, associated with the Gillis Falls Reservoir project. And I think you all have Exhibit 2.
Yep.
I do believe you have Exhibit 2 in front of you. Let me just refer to Exhibit 2 here. The blue area to the left, that is the Harrison Lashir property, plus the rest of the properties that are associated with this watershed. All right? So that's part of what you can count for recharge credit. And again, that is not enough. So what we did is we took a look at all the county-owned properties, and those are the properties then in the center and to the right, the hatched area, and then the brown or peach-colored areas. Those are all properties the county controls or owns that are associated with the Gillis Falls Reservoir project. What we did is we looked at those areas and said, okay, how much of those areas would we need to get the 200,000 gallons per day, and that's what's being requested or will be requested with the appropriation permit. How much more do we need? And the hatched areas that you see there is about 336 acres. The actual need to get the 200,000 is 315, but we've added a little bit of cushion in there, plus to make sure we take whole properties and all. So these are properties, the hatched properties are commissioner-owned and controlled properties. Those are what is being requested today to be allocated basically for use by the town of Mount Airy ultimately when they appropriate these wells so that these wells can produce the amount of water they want. And again, that's 336 acres in those hatched regions. The conditions that basically you have to abide by is that you really can't put any well on those properties and draw water, nor can you cover them up with impervious surfaces. But again, these properties are purchased for the future reservoir project, so they're actually excellent properties to basically co-use. You can consider this like a co-use. So they're purchased for open space for Gillis Falls, and then they can also count towards recharge credits for this project.
If we ever get to the point that we have Boucher Lake over there, would that have any effect on this?
These properties here, there's very little bit of these properties that will be inundated. Most of these properties were parcels that were bought to either buffer the reservoir, the actual pool, or they were larger parcels that in order to get the pool, you had to purchase the whole property. So no, the issue that you asked, no, this will not be a problem
Okay.
with the future development of the reservoir.
So, a couple quick questions. Ensuring that we're not robbing Peter, pay Paul approach. We're taking it from this one area. Is this in line with the vision that we have where this makes the best sense to use this property in this way? Or are we going to find ourselves in a handful of years with another parcel that we want to develop, and then we're going to be, where are we going to get that resources from? You know where I'm coming from?
Understood. Again, just to emphasize, these parcels were purchased and targeted for the reservoir project. They're outside of any service area or any growth area, so they're not planned for any future development plan for these properties that we've
No, but they're
designated.
resourcing the property. They're resourcing the development that we want.
So the actual
Right.
water that's associated
Correct.
with them?
Right.
Right. I'm gonna, this is a little hard to explain, but this is somewhat of a paper exercise that's happening
Okay.
here, all right? This recharge that's going on these properties is not going to be supplying directly these properties. It is the state assuring that you basically leave enough open space
Okay.
in areas to supply those wells. So, this is something that the state instituted many, many years ago, and we've struggled with for many years. But to answer your question plainly, there will be no there is no a conflict that will occur here between
Okay.
developing that as a reservoir there, those properties, and using them for recharge.
It sounds like it's built-in contingencies, is really what,
It actually, they complement one another.
okay.
That's maybe
The county
a
owns
good way to say it.
roughly 900 acres in it for the reservoirs, 2 of them in the future, I think. Is that,
900.
isn't it about that
I
right?
do not know, Commissioner, the exact numbers, but I think it might be more than that. When
Okay.
you say the 2 reservoirs, you're talking about Union Mills and
Union
Gillis?
Mills and,
I believe
Gillis
it's
Falls.
more than that as far as
Okay.
acreage goes.
so this land is not going to be developed at any time, but
Right.
it could be used for something like this for commercial
Yes.
recharge. So that, I think in the future, because I asked this question a couple years ago about this ground, and I think it's out there. We have no intent of getting rid of it. We're keeping it for that purpose eventually. We may never see it, but it may someday be needed. And it seems like a logical solution to this state dilemma here.
Yes.
And once this is used for recharge, it cannot be developed then.
No.
So there's no way, I mean, once we
That's
say
correct.
yes to this land cannot be developed.
That's correct.
Well, this
Or
wouldn't be
if-
developed.
So,
Anyway.
right, and it
Or
wasn't
if
going
you-
to, but this ensures that it won't be.
If you choose to develop this in the future, we'll have to look at some of those other shaded properties.
To pull-
And transfer it
Right,
over there, right,
transfer
exactly.
into it.
Exactly.
And that's kind of where I was coming from is, is this in line with the vision of how we want to develop this area?
I think
And
absolutely. I think it complements that.
It sounds like it is. I just
Yes.
want to make sure we're all
Yes.
saying the same. And I guess the last question, what risk is associated with doing this? Is there any that you see?
I do not see any,
Okay.
Commissioners. I just don't.
Yeah.
I think it's a great complement to being able to do economic development. It allows it to happen. It's a great complement to the town of Mount Airy because going into their water supply system, it allows them to fully utilize those wells and make good use of those wells.
And I guess the town of Mount Airy is all on board with this.
Mr. Weimer?
They know we need additional recharge. They don't know where the land is. Yes.
Okay,
We'll find out when we start the annexation process.
okay.
Has there been much public opposition or any at all to this?
We have not gone really public with,
Okay.
we had a couple meetings down in Mount Airy. We've had, 2 meetings in the last couple of years, but we haven't really started the annexation process, and that's when we get a lot of public input. We have to have quite a few public meetings.
Since this
Isaac
is
and I
my
will.
district, if there is, I think I'll hear about it.
Probably will.
Well, I'm looking forward to one day fishing the Gillis Falls Reservoir if it ever happens.
Well, Commissioner, that may be a while.
Yeah. You might want to find another spot.
Yeah.
All right, any other discussion on this? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll motion. I move that the Board of County Commissioners transfer the recharge credits from the land depicted in Exhibit 2 to the IDA and then to the town of Mount Airy once the 254.64 acres, more or less, have been annexed by the town of Mount Airy.
Second.
Any other questions? All in favor? Aye. Okay.
Thank you,
Unanimous.
gentlemen.
Thank you very much.
Commissioners, thank you. The next step will be, and you'll hear about, we'll start the annexation process.
Yep.
It'll be very public.
Good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Very good. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. All right, I need a motion to go into closed for personnel.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.